Now, with the post-pandemic economy facing major structural changes, is a 4-day working week the future of work itself? I'm delighted to welcome to debate this David Cann, Managing Director of a very successful business, Target Publishing, who have rolled out a 4-day week with no reduction in pay for their staff. We're also joined by Joseph Valente, who is, of course, a former apprentice winner and very accomplished business owner who questions whether a 4-day week is sustainable. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Let me start with you, if I can, David. When did you decide to go to a 4-day week?
It was last March when COVID began to start hitting, and we had to look at reducing our costs of the business, so it was almost forced upon us rather than through choice. However, I'd always had in the back of my mind, after running the business for 20 years, that I wanted to give something back to our employees. It just so happened that actually COVID was the catalyst for that. In fact, what happened, we had to reduce our costs by 20%. That didn't sit right. So what I decided to do was to offer the staff, in the meantime, a 4-day working week whilst we deducted 20% of their pay.
Right.
4 months later.
Yeah, go on.
Yes, so 4 months later, so it was almost a trial, but we were forced into this trial by reducing our costs, recovering from our ad revenues that had declined. Ad revenues began to pick up during this 4-day working week. The productivity didn't decline, and at month 4 of the recovery, I decided then to implement a 100% pay for only 8% of the time. So, in other words, continued with a 4-day week and allowed the staff to have 100% pay.
You clearly have very talented and motivated staff, David. Is your business one in which the people you employ can work from home or work remotely, or do they go into the office?
They're now back in the office.
Okay.
We had to have a period of time where we were again forced to work from home, but not only did we tackle 2 issues actually head on, one of which was a 4-day working week, a pandemic, and on top of that, also working from home. So there's a big trust issue, and I think trust is probably key to this debate today, I think.
Most certainly is. In terms of now that everyone's back in the office, does the 4-day week present your business with cost savings? Does it make things more efficient from a bottom line point of view?
Yeah, it does. Our profitability increased substantially. We've been doing this now for 18 months, so we've certainly trialled it back and forth, not without teething problems. However, I think in terms of the team, we trialled it really for the 3 or 4 months. But beyond that, we've had another 14 months where we've been, back in the office. And actually, that was a litmus test to how we could run the business remotely, but also how we can run it more efficiently in the business.
Well, it's a credit to you that you've managed to have people working fewer days, but on the same pay. So they're clearly not suffering financially. Where have the cost savings come from?
The business is more efficient. There are less meetings, actually, because when you're doing a Zoom meeting remotely, and Joseph may have found this too with his business, I'm sure that, if you're doing Zoom calls, they're much more efficient and more time efficient. But also, that's training people's minds to adapt to a different way of working. And so that period of time where we were, working with the 4-day week and at home, really encouraged everybody to work slightly differently at work.
Now,
So
Joseph,
whilst I encouraged it...
Yeah. Well, of course, no. I'll come back to you because I'm fascinated by your business model. But Joseph Valente, you are a very successful entrepreneur in your own right, and of course a major reality star, having won The Apprentice. Big congratulations. What do you think about the 4-day week? Same amount of work in fewer days. What's not to like?
I think the reason I came on to this debate tonight was because I'm very, very passionate about this subject. Again, hats off to David for making that business model work. But I think the messaging out into the market right now shouldn't be that a 4-day working week is the future. I think, at the moment, we are coming out of an 18-month pandemic where a lot of businesses have been on their knees and a lot of industries have really, really struggled. And the message needs to be back to work, hard work, focus, commitment to the company and the organization to ensure that we are rebuilding the economy. I don't think it's about relying on the government or just relying on the business owner. And my concern is that in David's case, he's making the business model work, but for 95% of businesses, a 4-day work week really is an unviable model. And again, hats off, because I think it comes down to the individual business, but productivity is an issue day to day in every business. And to lose 4 days of a 20-day working month, for me, the consequences would be almost disastrous to the bottom line. And I think many business owners would agree. So I admire David for being able to pull that business model off, but I also am very passionate about ensuring that we don't soften up the job market. I mean, it's already very difficult to recruit and hire at the moment. People have got fairly used to being on furlough and having that time off. And if we don't flip that mentality quickly, then we are very much going to struggle to quickly rebuild back the economy.
There you go, David Cann. The labour force of the UK is going soft.
Well, it could do, but we also need to look after well-being. And I think that the points that Joseph has made are very valid. I was quite fearful, and I think that's a key word again, fear and trust. I was very fearful that we would reduce our profitability, would the 4-day week work? And I had to convince myself many times that actually giving it a try would work. It cannot work, certainly for a lot of business, I understand that. But when you look at your kind of career paths, everybody's career path, you're talking about job retention. It's a good job retention scheme. We're advertising for new people now. We're advertising a 4-day week. So whilst I understand we've got to hit it hard and go back to economy and make sure that all the cafes are full and the restaurants are full and, the service industry is working well and so forth, I also think we've got to be mindful of everybody's what they've had over the last 18 months, which is pretty much beaten up by COVID. In more ways than sense, people have lost families and loved ones. But also, it's time for change. And maybe COVID has enabled everybody to look at the way in which they spend their time with their families and with their friends, but also in the business, and to reevaluate how you run your businesses and how you want to run your family and your friends' lives.
David,
spending a 3-day weekend is a positive sense.
If your team are able to do 5 days of work in 4 days, which I believe you're satisfied that they are, what were they doing before the pandemic?
Well, I think there's a real motivation, actually. So, one could say, are they flat out? No, they're just more efficient. So you can spend 5 days being inefficient or not as efficient, or you could spend and think, actually, my reward for the 5th day to spend a 3-day weekend is to be more efficient at what I do, have less meetings, don't stand at the fax machine if there is one anymore. There isn't. But don't tap on the computer all day. Don't have too many coffees all day. But to actually look after yourselves, be more efficient, but ensure that you've got, your well-being is being catered for by your employer.
And David, briefly, if you can, how have your team responded? Have you seen a difference in their well-being? What anecdotes are you hearing? What are you seeing?
Very little sick days now. I've seen individuals now change their partners and discuss their partner's working hours. So a colleague at work, she's got a young child. She's now got the 5th day to pick up a child, go to school, don't feel guilty. And her partner has also now changed his working hours. So he's working earlier on the Friday, but they're finishing more or less at the same time, or he's finishing earlier, so that they can go to the park, pick up the kids, go for pizza, and enjoy that family life. Others have used that time to also do their, again, about efficiencies, to spend time, doing their kind of home working stuff. So paying the bills, getting things sorted, running errands for people. And so their 4 days are more efficient because they're not spending time during their lunch hours, and quite often longer. If you ever ring an electricity board during a lunchtime, you can't get through and you spend longer than an hour. So you're worrying more so about your personal things on a day-to-day. But if you have a day to actually filter those into that day, then you're going to be more efficient.
Joseph, we've all worked, haven't we, in offices where you have people that string the day out. They'll maybe spend a bit of time on Facebook. Perhaps they're looking at a waffle iron on eBay. They're making cups of tea, popping out for a fag. Perhaps if you compressed everything into a shorter period of time, they would just work when they're at the office and play when they're not.
I mean, it all sounds rosy when you put it like that, but the reality is, I just don't think it's a reality. And I'm a realist, and I've employed hundreds of people. I've been in business 10 years now. I've had about 400 people come through different companies, and productivity for me has always been a massive, massive challenge. And I really do just believe that capping that working week is just going to pass on the problem. I liked it that David said they've had less sick days. That's probably because they're getting so much time off now, David, that they feel too cheeky to pull a sick day. But again, unless you're Google or Uber, most of the businesses out there just physically won't be able to do it. That's why I don't think it's viable, because I don't think that most organizations have the infrastructure or the strategy or the ability or the margins in such a competitive market to be able to do it. I mean, if it works,
yeah.
really, I'm not justifying that it doesn't work, but I just think that for most it won't work.
No, well, Joseph, I certainly agree with you that I don't think it should be in statute. And I don't think that there should be pressure from unions to roll out the 4-day week. I think it should be up to the employer, perhaps engaging with the employees, as David clearly has in the course of the pandemic, and take people with you. I don't think it should be imposed on businesses. But I hear what you're saying. And listen, before we let you go, you've won The Apprentice. You're a successful business owner, Joseph. How has winning that show changed your life?
Well, I think it really just rocketed me to the top. I think I went from a small business owner at 25 doing $500,000 a year to 9 million people a week watching me on the show. So in terms of brand awareness, attention, it really took me into the limelight. Again, having Lloyd Sugar as a business partner for 2 years gave me an incredible once-in-a-lifetime mentorship opportunity, and the £250,000 investment into the business was a huge cash injection that allowed us to build an infrastructure and taught me a level of business that I didn't know. Again, at the Trade Mastermind, the business that I currently own, we work with construction business owners and teach them how to go from tradespeople running a trades business to becoming a businessman running a trades business. And again, my journey from one man in a van to CEO of the largest independent boiler installation company in the UK has really added value to the training and development business that I now have thousands of clients across the country in. So it's been an incredible 10 years, or should I say 6 years since winning the show.
Well, big congratulations. I thought you were fantastic on the show, and you've clearly gone from strength to strength. I reckon in a year or two you'll be richer than Lord Sugar himself.
I think 10 years. Billionaire at 40 is what I've set myself.
That'll
31.
Nicely.
Go, Joseph.
The drink.
Cheers,
right
David.
here.
David, I checked out your LinkedIn profile as well, by the way, before we came on, so I'll connect with you after.
Look at
Well,
that.
I checked yours out too, so I think that's pretty good.
Always networking.
Me.
Always networking. It's like Tinder for entrepreneurs. Who knew? There you go. Great work.
You're the matchmaker, Matt. You're the matchmaker.
Absolutely. Could be Grindr as well. Each to their own.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.